What's going on, guys? This video is kind of going to be a mix of things. It's going to be a I'm going to analyze what's been winning Battleroads, and I'm also going to talk about the future of this channel and how I've been doing this season, I guess. To start out looking at the Battleroads results, Darkrai has been winning a crazy amount of Battleroads. Like, it is superior to every other deck in format. If you look at the results, we've got 30 wins compared to the next deck, which is Zekramil's, that has 9 wins, and a difference of 21 wins is pretty huge. Darkrai is definitely dominating the format, and it is definitely the best deck in format. There are different ways to build it. You've got the Darkrai Terrakion decks, which are getting popular, which the Terrakions really get in the mirror match, because it obviously one-shots Darkrai's, which is really good right now. And then you've also got the Darkrai Tornado CX decks, which the Tornado CX kind of acts as a way to have a better fighting matchup, I guess, but it's also just another really solid attacker. Turn 160 is nothing to laugh at, and it gives the deck the possibility of donking as well. We've also got this popular Sableye Crushing Hammer version that won the Finland Nationals by Essa, I think. He's the guy that runs the Deck Out blog, which I can link to below. He writes some really good stuff. And basically the strategy of that deck is to use Sableye to get back your Crushing Hammers, your Dark Patches, and to continuously stream Crushing Hammers and Enhanced Hammers. I guess he prefers Enhanced Hammer over Lost Remover, even though it really doesn't matter which one you run. They both do the same thing. And so you get rid of their energy, and then you essentially set up your Darkrai and you sweep them in that regard. The problem with that deck, though, is it runs into decks like the decks that run Acceleration. It doesn't really hurt as much because they can just get the energy back. Obviously, against Trainer Lock decks, it has a hard time. And yeah, so those are the basic Darkrai decks that are doing well right now. Moving on to the next thing is Zekramil. It's the deck that really did well at regionals. It took 7 out of 8 regionals in spring, while CMT took none and Durant took 1. So it was clear that Zekramil was the best deck in a Next Destinies. I ran CMT at regionals, and I placed 4th at the Southern Plains regionals, which was in Texas, losing to the eventual winner, which was Adam Garcia. So I'm glad I ran CMT. Because Zekramil's just wasn't really working out for me. At Oregon States, I placed into the top 8 with it, and then just didn't draw any supporters, and I lost to Chris Stotts in top 8, and I just didn't really like Zekramil's from there. I feel like CMT was a more aggressive deck, and I like that about the deck. I also like the fact that I was able to run more Mewtwo's and make ballsier plays, because that's the kind of player I am. I'm a pretty aggro player. That does hurt me a little bit, but oh well. The next deck we have is Fighting, and Fighting can be a multiple of things. Quad Terrakion, which was a deck that was huge during States. Curran Hill ran that the first week of States and dominated over in like Maryland or Virginia, one of those states on the East Coast, and that is still decently popular right now. We've got Landorus Terrakion, which is the same thing, except you've got Landorus to kind of spread damage. Landorus is pretty good against Durant because you can set up KOs on their Durants, and Landorus, just in general, is a pretty strong card because you can get energies back from the discard pile. You've also got Groudon EX, which is a pretty good card, actually. Tromp is pretty awesome, and then after you set up a couple of Tromps, you can go for the second attack, which would then do 120. It just sets up KOs, and Groudon is a beefy Pokemon, so you can run cards like Moo Moo Milk and Potion and Super Scoop Up, and you can potentially heal your Groudon while sitting there stalling with it. And the downside to these fighting decks is that there is no acceleration, so like the Sableye deck I was talking about with the Crushing Hammers would probably give this deck a hard time despite being weak to fighting. So I don't know. Groudon is definitely a strong deck if you build it right, but it's pretty slow, and Honestly, powerful Mewtwo Shaman plays can also beat the deck. The next deck that did pretty well is CMT. Honestly, I figured CMT was pretty dead after the release of Dark Explorers, but the fact that you can set up a turn 1 Tornadus for a possible 100 damage if you have the DCE and the Celebi and the Sky Arrow and Grass, it's still a pretty strong deck. Unfortunately, the fact that Celebi has the magic number of 60 HP, that means that 2 Night Spear 30s to the Celebi, and your opponent can take 3 prizes if they knock out an EX in 2 turns. And that is really scary for the deck. Obviously, if you put Eviolites on your Celebi or you super scoop up them, that gets rid of some of that, but it's still just is hard. It's hard to build CMT properly, in my opinion. You need to be able to beat Zeals, and you also need to be able to beat Darkrai. People have been running Terrakion, but when I faced these people that were running Terrakion, they were never setting up the Terrakion. Terrakion is the most inconsistent tech, and I still hate Terrakion techs to this day. I don't think they work. You can hardly ever get the Terrakion and the fighting when you need it. You need to somehow find a way to accelerate another energy in one turn. If you play it early, if your opponent is smart, they're going to take advantage of that Terrakion and take it out before they can ever retaliate. I just don't like Terrakion as a tech. Maybe I'll change my mind. I feel like if you're going to run Terrakion, you go all out. You want to run at least 5 fighting and 2 Terrakions, or it's just not going to work for you. So don't run the 1 Terrakion with the 2, 3 fighting or whatever. Never works, trust me. Next deck, Clink Clank EX. Clink Clank is surprisingly good because we've got Prism Energy and Rainbow Energy, and we've got beefy EX Pokemon. There was a really popular deck in Japan that ran Hydreigon, which lets you move Darkness Energy, but that deck was a little more stronger because you had access to Dark Patch to accelerate energy. In this deck, you don't, and most of your energy are special energies. So the problem with this deck is that you lose to Lost Remover, you lose to Crushing Hammer, you lose to anything that can get rid of your very slow energy setup. However, if you do set up the deck, and you do get going, and they don't have that, and you keep max potioning your EXs and moving around your energy, the deck is almost unstoppable. And if people haven't caught on to the Lost Remover, Crushing Hammer stuff yet, Clink Clank is still a really good play in your area. But it is still a stage 2, and it is pretty hard to set up, so that might turn some people away. The next deck we've got here is Tornadus Terrakion Mewtwo, which is known as a troll deck. It was really popular. It's been popular for a while now, and it's kind of a California exclusive deck. I'm guessing now they include stuff like Tornadus EX, and not really sure what else they would add to that deck. I don't really know much about it, so I can't really talk much about it, but that is a deck that has done well. The next deck is Quad Entei. It's a lot similar to the quad fighting decks, except you have acceleration and Entei second attack, and it lets you abuse max potion more, so you can like accelerate energy. Once your Entei is about to die, you retreat into another Entei, max potion, and then accelerate an energy back onto that Entei with the second attack. The deck is pretty strong, but once again, this deck falls to water decks, obviously, because of the weakness, and it loses to smart Mewtwo plays. Like, if you can set up one Mewtwo that can one-shot all the Entei's, the game is over. It also whiffs a lot. I've noticed that when testing it and seeing other people play it, there's a lot of times where they just whiff energy or whiff stuff, and they lose the game because of it. So it is a kind of a ballsy deck, but if you can get it going, it's a really strong deck, and it's hard to stop. Next up is Durant. Durant is still good. A lot of people aren't teching the Heat more, but if Durant did get big, then obviously there would be no reason not to just tech a Heat more and be like, hey, your Durants are gone. But as it stands, no one's really doing that, so Durant is still not a bad choice, and it did win a Battleroads. That's that. The next deck is Empoleon Terrakion. Empoleon, I'm split on it. Like, I tested against it, and I slaughtered it with my Darkrai deck, and I was like, how is this deck still good? Some people have been running Terrakion with it, some people have been running Donphan with it. I beat a Terrakion Empoleon at a Battleroad pretty easily because I got a fast setup, but I figure if they can set up the Empoleon, it's kind of hard to stop. They can do up to 120 damage for 1 energy. Terrakion's pretty easy to set up if you have experience share, or just the fact that none of your Pokemon really need a lot of energy to attack. and Empoleon's Diving Draw, I think it is. Once you get that going, you're gonna have like a huge board of penguins. But I still just don't like stage 2's this format. I feel like if anything, I might want to run Vileplume, but no other stage 2's really make me feel comfortable. Maybe Clink Clank as well, because it's hard to knock out in one hit with certain decks. But I don't know about Empoleon Terrakion. It only won one Battle Road. Um, and I would say it's like tier 2 at best. The next deck is the Truth, which is the, if you don't know, it's the deck that Ross piloted to get second place at Worlds last year, which runs Vileplume and Reuniclus. You use Reuniclus to move around the damage, Vileplume to trainer lock your opponent, and then you essentially have these big attackers that you can essentially never die. And the good thing about the deck right now is that you have Darkrai, which makes all of your Pokemon have free retreat if you have a Rainbow or Prism attached to them. And that's really strong for this deck, because before you had to manually discard energy to retreat your guys, and that was really annoying for the deck. But now that you can just be like, I'll attach Prism, free retreat my Groudon EX, bring out this guy, it's actually really strong. And if you choose the right attackers, you can counter the metagame really well. Like, you run Zekrom for the Tornadus EX, you've got Terrakions for Darkrai, and then you can run some of the newer EX cards. You still got Mewtwo to counter the opponent if they're trying to charge up a Mewtwo to try and stop you. The deck still has huge potential, and it did win a Battle Road. And another deck that a lot of people are kind of considering a joke deck, I think it's kind of a joke deck, is Lugia Legend. And basically use Legend Box to try and set up a Lugia. And the fact that Lugia can do 200 damage, that's enough to one-shot any of the EXs in this format. So if you can set that up consistently, you're going to give them a hard time. They also run Terrakions, which I'm guessing is to stop electric decks, because obviously the Lugia Legend is weak to electric. And Lugia's Poke Power is not even that bad. It lets you search the top 5 and attach any of the energies to Lugia. So this deck surprisingly won a Battle Road in Arizona, I think. A few other people have been picking it up since then, and I don't think it's tier 1 because you don't consistently hit the Lugia off the Legend Box, but it's still a fun deck idea, and it might be something worth considering. Let's see, so those were the decks that won Battle Roads, and that's generally most of the decks that are good this format. Moving in Nationals, we have the same format, but I think a lot of people are going to start getting creative, and since Battle Roads aren't really taken that seriously, me personally, I have 51 points. I'm 15th in North America right now, and I'm trying to get a couple more points from Battle Roads so I can try and clinch the invite to Worlds. Tyler has 54, and I'm pretty sure he's clinched his invite. He's at 7th in North America, and I am going to Nationals, so if you see me, say hi. I'm definitely going to take Nationals seriously because I'd love to win a trip to Hawaii, but I'm basically hoping to have clinched my invite to Worlds before Nationals, so that just in case I do mess up at Nationals, I don't lose my invite because of it. And I made a video earlier about if you have play TCG matches or matches you recorded like in real life and you'd like me or Tyler to commentate them, we are definitely down to do that. It might help you if you're a newer player to understand, get some tips on how to play your matches better, or if you want some sort of recognition on our channel, you'll be showcased on our channel because we'll talk about your game. And we're still, even though it's been like 3 months, we're still looking into finishing the British Columbia provincials matches that we have recorded. We might also do some of the Oregon States ones that we have recorded, even though it's 2 months old and a totally new format. And unfortunately, I didn't record anything from regionals. My suitcase got stolen at regionals, so it was really stressful, and I just couldn't get things set up, and I didn't really know the people that ran the OP, so it was just a pain. And so yeah, that's basically what's going on. That's the Battle Roads format. That's what's coming up next on our channel, and I hope you guys stay tuned and look forward to some great stuff coming on our channel. Catch you guys later.